Hey everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the first three figures released in DC Collectibles' new line of Earth 2 figures based on their New 52 incarnations. The first three figures released for this line are Green Lantern, aka Alan Scott, The Flash, aka Jay Garrick, and Batman, aka Thomas Wayne. These figures come packaged in your pretty standard DC Collectibles type packaging. You've got the window box, you've got the Earth 2 logo up at the top, and then the figures clearly displayed in the window box packaging. You've got the kind of peeled back colored tab like you normally see with DC Collectible figures. And then the white packaging. And so for like Green Lantern, we have the green color. For Batman, we have a dark gray, and for Flash, we have red. Then on the sides of the packaging, you have shaded in pictures of each of the characters, and then on the other side, you have a picture of the actual figure. And for the Green Lantern figure, it tells us that the figure is based on art by Nicola Scott and was sculpted by Amos Hemsley. For the Batman figure, it again tells us that the art for this figure is based on Nicola Scott, and that the figure was sculpted by Phil Ramirez. And then the Flash, also based on art by Nicola Scott, and the figure also sculpted by Phil Ramirez. Then finally on the back, we have a little thumb for the figure, and then a little brief bio about the character for each one, and then a look at the other figures in the wave. Now, one thing to note, we see the Earth 2 Wonder Woman figure displayed on the back of the packaging for these. That figure has not yet been released. Only the Flash, Green Lantern, and Batman have hit comic and specialty shops so far. Okay, so let's get these figures open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the three figures outside of the packaging. And as I said, this is based on characters from the Earth 2 universe of the DC universe, of Alan Scott as Green Lantern, Jay Garrick as Flash, and Thomas Wayne as Batman. Now, I'm not terribly familiar. I haven't really been reading the Earth 2 comics, so I'm not super familiar with the background on these guys. Again, I know this Batman is basically Bruce Wayne's father, who is hyped up on some kind of drug that gives him super strength, kind of like you see the Mirakuru drug in the Arrow TV series. And then I know, actually I don't know a whole lot about the Green Lantern or the Flash, other than obviously it's based on Alan Scott and Jay Garrick. So in a way, you're kind of getting a Golden Age version of Green Lantern and Flash with this line. The figures are well sculpted for the most part. Articulation is pretty much the same all across the board on all three figures, so we'll take a closer look at that. But let's just take a quick look at each of the figures individually. So for Green Lantern, I think I like the head sculpt on Green Lantern the best. I think they've done a really good job with the face sculpt, and I really like how they've sculpted the hair on this one, giving it some nice wash effect. Looks like almost like his hair is kind of blowing back. So I really like the face sculpt on this one. He's got metallic green on the upper body, and then again on the belt and his wrist guards and his boots. And and then the rest is kind of a flat green, and then they've mixed in, like on the striping on the figure and on the Green Lantern symbol, a more neonish type green color, so it stands out nicely off of the darker green colors. And then, of course, like all Green Lantern figures, he has his ring sculpted. For the Flash, they've sculpted, he's got this kind of unique helmet that he wears. It's got a clear plastic piece that covers his eyes. He's got his wings sculpted on the side. The helmet itself is silver with yellow striping. The main thing I don't like about this figure is I don't really like the face sculpt on this figure. They kind of given him almost goofy kind of smile. It's not quite as bad as the expression they've given on the Batman figure, which we'll look at in a second. But I'm still not a big fan of this face sculpt. I don't know. It's just something off about the facial expression they've given him. For the body, they've used red metallic on the upper body, here in the midsection of the chest and the arms. And then gold metallic paint for the lightning that starts up at the top of his chest and works all the way down to the bottom of his leg. Again, on the boots, they use the red metallic. You can see like he has zippers on the front, and then on the bottom he has the yellow treads. And then a flat blue for like the legs and the side. And then he's got some wrist guards, which look pretty good. Both hands are sculpted open. And then finally for Batman, we've got, as I mentioned before, I really don't like the face expression on this figure either. I don't like how they've sculpted the mouth almost kind of open. I guess he's supposed to be like gritting his teeth or something, but it just looks kind of off. I do like the red eyes. He's got the glossy black paint on his chest with the red bat symbol. And then the red striping around that, and then he's got kind of a flat gray for most of the costume. Again, he's got the red on the belt. He's got the red on the inside of his cape. The cape is that soft vinyl material like we see with most DC collectible figures that have capes. I do like how they've kind of sculpted line work on the inside of the cape, and then on the back it's more of a flat. So I like the way the cape looks on this figure. Like I said, really the only thing I don't like is just the facial expression that they've given him with the mouth. Now, out of the three figures, Batman is the only one that comes with any kind of accessory, and he comes with a red Batarang. And it's actually kind of cool because they've made it so that the wings will fold down so you can have it closed, and he can hold it basically in his right hand. The left hand is sculpted with a closed fist, so he can only hold it in his right hand. So he can kind of hold it like this with the wings closed, or you can have it open and holding it like a traditional Batarang. Now the Batarang is a little bit on the big side to me, but still I think it looks pretty cool, and I really like how the wings kind of open and close. Now, one thing I do want to caution, especially when you have it open, if you want to try and have him hold it by the wings, he doesn't hold it very well. Unfortunately, it fits pretty loosely in the hand, so you got to kind of try and wedge it in between his fingers if you really want him to hold it when it's open like that. He holds it pretty good, if you close the wings and then kind of have him hold it at the top of the bat head. He holds it pretty good that way, but when you have him holding it open, he doesn't hold it nearly as well. Okay, so for scale-wise, both Flash and Green Lantern are roughly about the same size. They both stand about 6 3/4 inches tall. Now the Batman figure is a little bit taller. Batman stands closer to 7 inches from bottom to the tip of his ears. So he's just a little bit taller than Flash and Green Lantern. And then here are some comparisons with each of the characters with like their regular New 52 counterparts, just to give you a comparison. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the articulation on these figures is pretty much the same all across the board for all three. It's about on par with what we saw with the Justice League War figures from DC Collectibles that we looked at last week. Really the biggest difference is these figures do have the added bonus of having hinges at the ankle. But we'll just go over the articulation on the Flash figure here so you can see what it is. And again, it's pretty much the same all across the board for all three figures. The head is attached with a ball joint, so you can look down some. Doesn't really have any back movement, can look straight ahead. Good rotation, the left and the right. The arms are attached with your standard ball hinge joints at the shoulder. They can get their arms out about that much, straight out about that much. They have good rotation. They have the bicep swivel, single hinged elbow, so they can bend their elbows about that much, which isn't too bad. And then all three figures have swivel at the glove cuff, not at the wrist itself, but down here basically where kind of like the gloves meet the arm. And again, all three figures have that. No midsection articulation on these figures. The legs are attached with your ball joints like we've seen before. Now with Flash, just to note that at least on mine, the right leg has a tendency to pop off when you're moving it. It pops right back on, but just something to be wary of. And I can do the splits about that much. Again, a little harder on my Flash to get him to get his right leg out. His left leg goes out more. The right leg tends to pop off when you do it any more than that, at least on my figure. No thigh swivel, single jointed knees, so they can bend their knees about that much. They do have a swivel at the boot cuff, and again, all three figures have that. And then, as I mentioned, they have hinges at the ankle. They don't have swivel or any kind of pivot, but you can get the ankle up and down. And then they have one peg hole on the bottom of their feet. So that's my review. Overall, I don't think these are bad figures. Definitely, we've seen figures recently from DC Collectibles that have better articulation than these, but certainly it's not the worst articulation that we've seen on DC Collectible figures. For the most part, I like the sculpting and the paint applications on the figure. I do think on Batman, especially on Batman and a little bit on the Flash, that the facial expressions are a little off to me. But otherwise, I think they're pretty good looking figures, and I definitely like the head sculpt on the Green Lantern figure. Now, I'm not, like I said, I really haven't been reading the Earth 2 comics, so I can't say I've been like dying for Earth 2 characters in figure form, but definitely if you like that series, these would be ones you want to pick up. And also, again, because, it's kind of, it's your Alan Scott and Jay Garrick versions of Green Lantern and Flash, which we have yet to get in modern figures from DC Collectibles. That might be another incentive just to add to your Green Lantern and Flash collections. As I said, these three figures are hitting shelves now. The Wonder Woman figure that is pictured on the back of the packaging has not yet been released. So when you go to your comic book shop, don't expect to find that one yet. I'm not sure on what the release date is on that one. I'd have to check. But it is not out yet. But these three are, and so if you want to pick them up, be sure to check your local comic or specialty shop. And that's my review, and until next time, I'll check you later.